Hi, it's Siobhan from enjoyrunning.net. Today I'm going to say a little bit about the Lydiard system of training. 2 years ago, I did the Lydiard coaching course. I was taught by a fantastic lady called Lorraine Muller. She, you may not have heard of her, she's a 4 times Olympian. She represented New Zealand at many distance, middle distance on to marathon. She won the bronze medal in Barcelona in 1992. And she featured at 4 Olympics. So she had a long athletics career right into her 40s. And she attributed that lengthy career to the way in which she had been coached, which was by Arthur Lydiard and his coaches. This week I have the fantastic opportunity of touching base with her again in a refresher course, and it's really made me enthusiastic about the Lydiard system. It's reminded me of why I set up enjoyrunning.net. It was just the ability of a coach like myself who'd been taught in the UK athletics system and then primarily coach juniors and young children. But when I came to coaching adults, I found that I was really struggling to help them because they were getting injured all the time. They were getting fed up. They had to live their lives. There's so many different things going on. And sometimes they came with very few of the skills that the youth athletes I'd been involved with already had, because we teach them as they come up through the ranks from childhood. So I was getting increasingly involved with older people who had discovered running through, say, a Couch to 5K, and were really encountering problems that I felt were difficult to deal with the particular background I had. I came across the Lydiard system and it just opened my eyes. And this week I am having my eyes reopened, and I'd love to share some of that enthusiasm with you. Those of you who know me as a coach will know that I am firmly rooted in the Lydiard coaching tradition now. I still use UKA stuff and I find it fantastic, and the updates are fantastic. You can learn something from virtually every source, but the Lydiard philosophy is something that I think is particularly useful for people who have come to running in their middle years without a huge background in sport. Right, who's Arthur Lydiard? Arthur Lydiard was a New Zealander. He's dead now, the poor man. Lived a long life though. And he coached Kiwis from the 1960s onwards, including Lorraine Muller herself, who had a very long athletics career, represented her country for many years, retired eventually in her 40s, having got featured at 4 Olympics, won the bronze in the marathon in Barcelona. So, you know, she had a lengthy career. Lydiard coached a huge number of famous New Zealanders through the 60s and 70s, and he was involved in coaching Lasse Viren in Finland and many others. You'd need to look him up. I don't want to spend too much time on him. But the attraction of Lydiard for me was that it seemed to be a system that could be used by people in a flexible way that was very responsive to them. It wasn't fixed in terms of very strenuous sessions that needed to be done once a week, like we sometimes see in, if you look at the sort of training sessions that appear on a club notice board. The Lydiard system was just quite different. What does a Lydiard system look like? Well, Lydiard's system is based on a number of principles, and the picture I'm going to show you now of a pyramid probably explains it pretty well. So I'm going to hold that up, and I'm hoping that the camera focuses in on it while I chat a little bit about it. You'll see this is a pyramid, and down at the bottom of the pyramid you have first of all, health. Now that's quite important actually. I'm just going to drift off for a moment and show you a different picture. This is 2 pyramids. Now the pyramid I've just shown you is the top part of that, where you start at aerobic and the blue, light blue, and go off up to your medal at the top. But under that, the Lydiard system also includes this upside down pyramid, which I am finding increasingly useful in helping people acquire the health to begin to train seriously using a pyramid that looks a bit more like this. Right, so what's the Lydiard system about? Well, it's at the bottom, it's based on this huge aerobic base, and that is crucial to the Lydiard system. This aerobic conditioning is the single biggest determinant of performance, according to Lydiard. It gives us a system that is particularly well suited to the longer distance like marathon, which is 99% aerobic system based. And really from 5K onwards, you are so heavily dependent on your aerobic system that it's only a small proportion of the event that is spent in an anaerobic system dependency. So in the Lydiard system, you have this huge aerobic conditioning as a principle of your fitness. You can also see that one of the other principles is that there is a build-up, there is sequential development of strength through hills, speed through the anaerobic phase, race preparation in the integration, and then of course the taper so that you are ready to run on race day. Another principle that Arthur espoused was to time those phases so that you did perform at your optimum on race day, that you didn't peak before or after, but you were in the best shape possible on race day. And he had two other components that are key to his training system. And the first one was that he thought that every training program shouldn't be specified down to the last item by pace and so on. He thought that you should be adjusting your training according to how the body was responding to that training, so that you timed the training session and the intensity of the training session, the volume of it, according to what your athlete needed, so that they could make the best use of it in improving their fitness. Now, the other side of that, so to speak, and another principle of Lydiard was that the athlete's response was something that should be fed into the system in a very real way, and the athletes needed to become attentive to how their body was responding to the stresses of training and be able to discuss that in a meaningful way with their coach. I try to get people to do that in the attentive running course I run, but Arthur Lydiard was doing it way back in the 1960s, encouraging his athletes to tune into their body's natural feedback systems and become very, very aware of how their bodies were responding to the stresses of training. And he, and this is a picture, this principles of adaptation, believed that the best thing for an athlete was that you got a training stress, then the body obviously took a bit of a hit in terms of needing to recover from that training stress, and then it would supercompensate, and the next training stress would be provided when the body had responded adequately to the training stress. So he had those 5 principles, and those, I believe, are very effective. These days there are several training systems that you come across which try to mirror some of the aspects of Lydiard. Some coaches that you might have heard of, Greg McMillan, for example, bases his system, roughly speaking, on Lydiard principles. And in fact, many coaching philosophies do try to obviously prepare their athlete to peak on race day, but I believe a fundamental difference between many systems that people use and the Lydiard system is that Arthur's system was just so structured and so logical and so much in tune with the athlete's response to training. There were no shoulds and musts and have tos. The next session that was given to that athlete was designed to optimize their ability to respond to it. And one of the things that I was taught years ago when I started on my first, the level 1 coaching course with UK Athletics way back 2006 or something, was that we had to be athlete-centred. And that is what the Lydiard system really is. But it is athlete-centred in a very, very practical way. So I hope that I've shared some of my enthusiasm for that system with you. I provide a much more extensive rundown of that system on the enjoyrunning.net website if you want to read it. But I think it's a fantastic system that allows people to tune into their body and to make the best of the body that they have and the time and the energy they have available for training, so that they can go out, enjoy the running, enjoy the training process. It's not all hard stuff. There is hard stuff in there, but at the right time, not all the time. And his system allows people to return from training sessions not feeling like they've been through a ringer. They come back and they are tired, they are exercised, but they're not exhausted. And that is really, really important. I believe as a coach that you have to enjoy the journey, because the journey for, say, marathon training is a long one. This year, many of us, I was training for half marathon, have had the opportunity to see the fruits of our labour in practice taken away from us. If I hadn't enjoyed the journey, what would I have left from all of those weeks of training in the winter, as it was? I'd hoped to run in the Solihull half marathon. Well, you all know the story of that, and you all have your own stories of races that have been taken from you. But I enjoy the journey. I love those training sessions. I came back tired, but I came back happy, and I came back in control, knowing that I could choose what to do in my next session based on the principles of Lydiard system, but interpreted in light of the feedback that my body, which is a phenomenally complicated, all our bodies are phenomenally complicated, and they have these amazing biological feedback systems. And it really is in our best interest to listen to them, because then and only then can we truly make the best of what we've got. See you next time.